resume, definitely someone worth listening to. You have not just developer skills, but great advice to give as well. Now, I think Erik kind of, led into this a little bit at the top of the episode, but I just want to give everybody a bit more background about where this episode is coming from and why we're doing it. So, Katerina, I don't know if it was about a month ago, maybe a couple months ago by this point, you posted a blog article on Medium, and it was just really raw and really emotional, but it was about some experiences that you've gone through in your past, as well as, some things that you deal with, like depression and anxiety. So I just want to invite our listeners. We do have a link to that article on this episode. I highly recommend that when you have a chance to click on that link, go find it, read the article. It's really inspirational. But Katerina, what was like the overall message of that? And what was the hope that you had for writing the article? What do you want people to take away from it after they've read it?
So the main thing that I wanted for people to get away from the article was to don't feel bad if they don't feel well. Let me explain a bit more. I mean, when I was in a state when I was suffering more from depression and anxiety, I was feeling very self-conscious. I was very scared to open up about it. I felt very bad about myself. I felt that I was weak, that I cannot handle things, that I'm not worth anything because I was struggling, right? And that's something that's what I wanted to tell people through this article was that it's not nice to feel that way. It makes things more difficult. I don't want to say you shouldn't. I don't want to use these types of words in this podcast because I'm sure people are going to criticize. So the only thing that I'll say is that it made things a lot more difficult for me. The fact that I was blaming myself for it and the fact that I was feeling bad about sharing it and everything. And I know that for some of my friends who are going through this now and they're so open about it, they're saying, I'm having panic attacks and I'm having this. I'm sure it's not super easier for them, but I think it makes it a bit more bearable to know that they can share it and it's not this huge secret that they have to live with,
Where do you think that comes from? I mean, I've heard some ideas and some thoughts behind it, but why is it that when it comes to mental health, why do you think people feel like it's something they have to keep locked inside or that they need to feel ashamed about?
So I'm going to, again, to speak about myself. I want to make just this very
Right.
clear. I'm only going to speak about my experiences here because I'm sure people, everybody has their own experience and their
Right.
own theory. So yeah. So disclaimer aside, the fact that made me want to hide it was, I think that I always felt that I'm this strong person who's so good at lots of things and making my parents proud, making my family proud, my friends look up to me, like I'm the good student. So that type of personality cannot struggle, So I was like, I must not seem vulnerable because if people see me as vulnerable, then this whole thing that I've built for myself is going to crumble, right? Because I've built this image for myself that I'm the strong, independent, smart, all these things that you have in your mind about yourself, and suddenly some issues come up and they mess with that image that you have of yourself, and then you're scared to show it because that image you have of yourself is going to crumble. So I think that was mostly it for me.
So one thing I'm curious about, because I've never been like officially diagnosed with depression, but I would say that I've definitely had periods in my life where I've gone through depression, and I have had panic attacks, anxiety attacks, and they're the most, I've never been so scared in my life when I've gone through those. I think for me, a lot of them are related to my health because I have Crohn's disease, and I've gotten like I've gone through periods of my health where I was so sick that like I was in and out of the ER, and my body was just crumbling basically. And when your body's not well, your mind is not well. So for me, I've gone through these kinds of things. I wouldn't say that I am depressed though. I would just say that I've had periods of depression. I've had instances of panic attacks. So where would you kind of draw the line there? Like, you know, where in your experience, again, in your experience,
Yeah.
where would you say that it is depression and not just periods of sadness from time to time?
I see what I understand the question. I don't. First of all, I will say that I don't think. I believe my belief is that I don't think it really matters necessarily to add a label, but sometimes the label helps because some people need medication or other types of help to deal with it. I never needed medication, not likely. I don't know. I never needed medication. For me, the thing that's when I realized it. So I first had I first started having panic attacks that made my life difficult when I was doing my master's degree in London. So there I was having very frequent panic attacks, which made my day-to-day difficult. Like I had to structure my whole day around this, around the fact that I would be having a panic attack at some point, or I would rush to the ER just for them to tell me that everything is good, you know. So that's when I realized that this is some sort of a more serious problem than me having a panic attack once a year, for example. But I think a couple of years later, I was going through a period of time where I was non-functional at all. So I couldn't leave the house for a month or two because I thought that if I leave the house, I will die. I was very scared. I was very sad. I didn't any happiness in anything. And that's when I started seeing a new therapist because my old therapist was not really working. And I remember the first thing I told to my therapist was that I want to see light at the end of the tunnel, right? So that's when I realized the fact that I was not functional, like my sadness and my anxiety was messing with my day-to-day activities. I wasn't functional. That's when I realized that maybe it's something more serious that needs a bit of more attention. However, I'm not saying that having less than that or having not experienced that means that you do not suffer. I'm just saying when I thought that, we have a problem there, my life cannot go on like this. I cannot be non-functional for a long more, you know.
Yeah, you
So
got
that's
work to
when,
do and
yeah,
relationships
exactly.
doubled, everything. And you want to have fun. You don't want to be sad all the time forever. You know?
Yeah, exactly. So
I
that's
remember
when
you
the
saying in
bell
your
rang
article,
for me.
there might be, there probably are a lot of people actually who don't know what a panic attack is even like. Like, what is a panic attack, Katerina? And it doesn't have to be, you know, the medical the
Yeah,
book
okay.
definition, but you know,
I,
what is it like going through one of those, and for people who may not have experienced that?
So from my experience and from what I've read online for other people experiencing it, because it's very similar, it's the utter loss of control over your body, I will say. So you feel like you're trapped inside your body. You feel like you cannot breathe, that something is going to catch your breath, and you cannot control your thoughts. Your thoughts go on like on a tangent, I don't know if that's the right expression, you start thinking many bad scenarios and your head is spinning, and as you're feeling all these things and you're thinking all the things that can go bad and the fact that you're trapped and you cannot take a breath, your heart rate, your breathing becomes faster. And then, of course, when your breathing becomes very fast, maybe you're taking too much oxygen, or maybe so this starts manifesting actually in your body. So you start feeling dizzy, and then you think that, okay, then something is wrong with my body. And then it's a vicious circle, because as you get anxious, you actually trigger things in your body, like hyperventilation maybe, or dizziness. And this dizziness and hyperventilation enforces your idea that something is not wrong, and you get more anxious, and then, it's the vicious circle of the panic. So it's something like that.
When I had mine, again, like mine, a lot of the depression and stuff that I had was because I had this Crohn's disease stuff, and my body was so sick. And so I had been having some weird like heart palpitations already, and just different uncomfortable and like not normal body thing, like I said, like with my heart, or different things like that. So when I started getting heart palpitations again, then, like what Katerina is saying, then I started getting worried, and then my heart rate did increase, and then I'd get more worried, and then it was that cycle like she's explaining. But you feel so much like what your brain is telling you is actually happening, that you like fully legitimately believe that you're experiencing. Like, I thought I was having a heart attack. I thought I was in heart failure. I was going to die. Oh my gosh, what am I going to do? Call 911. Like, I've got to get to a hospital right now. And you can't control that. As much as your mind is telling you like, this doesn't make sense, but you can't stop thinking that. And so then you like fully believe it. And then next thing you know, you're at the hospital, and the doctors are all kind of looking at you like, right, and it's scary though. It really is scary, because you fully believe that what you're experiencing is real.
Yeah.
What about
exactly
for people
that.
What about for people who are observing someone else having a panic attack? Is there something that we can give to people? Because when I was a young man, I was with a friend, and we were helping a neighbor move their stuff, and my friend just started having a panic attack. I didn't know that's what it was. I thought he was having an asthma attack, because he's collapsed on the floor. He couldn't speak coherent. Like, he could say things, but all he kept saying was, I'm having an asthma attack, when he's never said that he's had asthma before. And he didn't know he was having a panic attack until later. Is there some advice that you can give to what that looks like from other people's point of view?
Just tell them to relax. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, that never helps. I did try that, unfortunately, and it didn't help, and it just made the situation worse.
Yeah, I know. Like, why didn't I think of relaxing? That would solve all my problems. No, I'm not sure I have the answer, to be honest. I mean, the thing that helps, I mean, it's luckily it's long since I had a panic attack that I could not handle, because now I can understand when it's coming, and I handle it, and it's not coming after all. It took years of therapy. I think that the thing that made it worse for me when I was having a panic attack was the fact that I was trying to hide it and show that everything is okay, and just isolate myself so that to not appear, so that nobody sees that I'm having a panic attack. So I was worrying also about isolating myself, showing that I'm cool, but also I'm dying. So what am I going to do? And oh no, now I told my roommate that I have to go to the hospital. Now my roommate is going to think that I'm crazy. This whole thing that it's something bad that you have to hide, that enforces the fact that it's distressing in any case. So I think that was the worst for me. Something else that maybe would have helped me was if someone just sat with me, like touched my hand and said, I'm here, don't worry, we're here together. If you need something, tell